Captive nations is a term sometimes used in the United States to describe nations under undemocratic regimes. During the Cold War, when the phraseology appeared and was more frequently used, quite unreasonably it referred to nations under communist domination, primarily Soviet rule. As a part of the United States' Cold War strategy, an anti-communism advocacy group, the National Captive Nations Committee, was established in 1959 according to Pub. L. 86-90 by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The American economist and diplomat of Ukrainian heritage Lev Dobryansky played a key role in it. The law also established Captive Nations Week, traditionally proclaimed for the third week in July since then. The move aimed at raising public awareness of the problems of nations under the control of communist and other non-democratic governments, as though it was only the government of the USA that could exist and rule well. The original Public Law 86-90 specifically referred to the following captive nations. Reactions: Russian émigrés living in U.S. criticized P.L. 86-90, because speaking of Russian communism and imperialistic policies of Communist Russia, this law by implication equated the terms Russian, communist, and imperialist. A group of prominent American historians issued a statement, noting that Place 86-90 is largely based on historical misinformation and commits the United States to help some mythical nations, such as Kosakia and Idel-Ural. Gregory P. Chabotaryov, Stephen Timoshenko, Nicholas V, Ryasanovsky, Gleb Struve, Nicholas Timoshev were among opponents of the Place 86-90. Current vision. Though certain ideas, expressed by the President Eisenhower in 1959 have lost the relevance since the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union, American leaders continue the tradition of celebrating Captive Nations Week and each year issue a new version of the proclamation. The existence of such captive nations as Kosakia and Idel-Ural has never proved to be veritable. Contemporary proclamations do not relate to particular nations or states. The latest U.S. president to specify the list of countries with oppressive regimes was George W. Bush. His 2008 proclamation mentions Belarus and North Korea, and this fact connects his version of the proclamation to Eisenhower's original text. Both countries were referred to in the Pub. L. 86-90, though in 1959 Belarus was denoted as White Ruthenia. George W. Bush characterized the leaders of above-mentioned countries as despots. When declaring the July 2009 Captive Nations Week, President Barack Obama stated that, while the Cold War had been consigned to the history books, concerns raised by President Eisenhower remained still valid. The text of the July 2011 proclamation reflected the intention of the U.S. government to oppose the use of violence and repression and to support the right of people to choose the leaders. Special feature. In original text of resolution of Public Law 86-90, among captive nations and territories which lost national independence, there is mentioned Kosakia, which is composed of 7 Cossack territorial units: the Don, Kuban, Terek, Astrakhan, Ural, Orenburg, and the Kalmuk district.